A salt wind rises at dawn over an unknown shoreline. A woman breathes the cool, damp air as her kin gather shells and stone, their footsteps tracing the edge of a world before villages, before maps. Their journeys multiplied, a great human migration that wove curiosity into the fabric of survival. As the climate warmed, patience anchored them. Foragers learned to coax life from the soil. Along great rivers like the Nile, the annual floods nourished fields of barley and wheat, giving rise to villages and then to cities. Here, the first states took root. Specialists emerged to track the seasons, keep records, and settle disputes. Beliefs gave purpose to power, and in centers of learning, shared rules for life were forged. For what holds strangers together, beyond fear? Law. Institutions that gave rulers both a language to command and limits to their authority, allowing vast realms to organize and endure. Soon, long roads and wide seas turned grain and faith into currency. Across desert sands and monsoon winds, goods and stories traveled together. A single glass bead, traded for silk, then for a camel load of salt, passing through a dozen different hands and a dozen different languages. Where these currents of trade met, empires rose, taxing the customs, guarding the routes, and weaving them all into a shared story. Then smoke on new seas as old worlds collide. In the early 16th century, a ship cuts through an ocean once thought endless. A world away, the soil receives an unfamiliar seed, its thirst for rain the same as any other. The great exchange had begun. Crops, animals, and diseases crossed the oceans, remaking continents. Sugar sweetened the cups of Europe, financed by the brutal efficiency of Atlantic slavery that emptied villages and built glittering ports. Progress and suffering traveled together. In the smoky mill towns of a new age, steam drove the looms, and clocks replaced the seasons. Nations were imagined into being, and empires chased new markets, new resources, new mines. Engines promised abundance, but demanded obedience. Power concentrated, and then it began to tremble. In 1914, the guns of August erupted, and a generation was lost to the mud. By 1945, a single blinding flash over a city redefined the very meaning of fear. In the aftermath, empires crumbled and new nations were born. A Cold War drew rigid lines across the globe, while hot wars burned along its edges. But through it all, the ideas of human rights, of dignity, and the power of a single vote continued their relentless march forward. In the century's final decades, streets filled with protest. Their songs and demands beamed across the planet in an instant. Now, trade, migrants, and lines of code connect our lives so tightly that a tremor in a distant harbor can flicker a light in our own home. We debate our very future in the language of genetic code and artificial intelligence, questioning how we gather, how we guide, how we define what is human. The platforms we build today will decide who is seen, who is heard, and who is protected tomorrow. History is not a destination, it is a compass, and it is our turn to read it and to choose the way forward.